This episode is brought to you by Companion. Iris and Josh seem like the perfect match, but when a weekend getaway turns into a nightmare, Iris realizes that things aren't as perfect as they appear. From the creators of Barbarian and the studio that brought you The Notebook comes a twisted tale of modern romance and the sweet satisfaction of revenge. Companion, only in theaters January 31st. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
Hey Atlanta, say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right, we're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/smallbusiness or visit an Apple store to learn more.
Like, you have to focus on it, I feel, because there's an emotional journey, and if you leave at the wrong time, you're like, what, that's a fucking spider? Now, his wife's where? There's Nutella? So you have to pay attention in the way you would watch a movie in the old days before there were 30 devices in your house that you were all addicted to. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that this film asked me to sit and be present with it.
When the Nutella shows up again in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm so happy to see this again. So Nutella's back.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today I'm joined by Helen.
Hello.
Bill.
Hello.
And James Third.
Hey there.
And we're going to be talking about Spaceman. Thank you as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes that you can hear right now. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for editing our podcast. Please do remember to head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review. Please join the conversation with us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod or on Instagram at Flixwatcher.
Hello film fans, welcome to Flixwatcher podcast. Our guests today are Bill and James. Over to you please, James, to say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Hey everybody, I'm James III. I'm a comedian and a writer. I have a comic book company called Rule of Three Inc. and there's a lot of fun comics there. I'm all over the place. I do podcasts. I'm all over the place.
You've been on here before with Jonathan Braylock.
Yes, happy to be back.
Yeah, one of your co-hosts of Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood.com. Not .com, that's a website.
BlackmenPodcast.com.
Everything is .com.
Yeah.
The .com boom.
It's Helen.com, Kobe.com, James3rd.com. Everything's .com.
This sonorous voice you can hear, I think you must be someone who records audiobooks. We'll get to you in a second.
What a lead in.
Truly.
But James III, tell us about your comics. Tell us about what you're doing, because you've got an interesting crowdfunding coming up soon, haven't you? Or now, as the list comes out. Yeah,
so right now there is a Kickstarter happening for my comic series Junior. Bill is actually the editor on that series.
Yo.
And it is, it's a sort of, I call it spooky hijinks is the genre that it falls under. So think Beetlejuice, think The Mummy, think Army of Darkness. It's that kind of thing. And it's inspired by a personal story where a father and son work together in the afterlife and all kinds of hilarity ensues after that.
Well, James, the true story part is not the father and son working together in the afterlife. That's not the true story.
That's why I said inspired by it. So I'm saying inspired by it. Also, I have been to the other side and I've worked with my dad in the afterlife. This is all true.
It's true. It's based on research that you've done.
Yes.
How can people get hold of this, James? Is it Kickstarter or is it another platform?
You go to Kickstarter. You just go to Kickstarter. You can search for Junior's the name of the comic. You can search for Daddy Issues, which is the subtitle of the comic. Or you can follow me at Rule of Three Inc. 3 is the number 3, and all of the information is there.
Fine. Bill, give yourself a proper intro.
Hi, friends. It's Bill. Professionally, it's William DeMeritt. DeMeritt, kind of like the bad thing in school, but spelled slightly differently. There's a website, williamdemerit.com, that needs to be updated in the worst possible way. At DeMeritt is the Twitter and Instagram handles. I am an actor, writer, teaching artist, voiceover artist, born and raised in New York, flirting with the idea of moving to the West Coast, but always seem to end up in New York. I do a lot of regional theater, do some Broadway, do some TV. And currently, I'm maybe in talks to do probably the most exciting audiobook I've ever done, but I can't talk about it yet until I sign the thing.
Exclusive.
Can you tell us what you're doing on an audiobook? Because I've got 2 audiobooks which I recommend to people who are kind of on the edge as to whether they should try an audiobook in the first place.
What are your 2?
So one is World War Z, or Z, depending on which side of the bond you're on. That's just a magnificent audiobook. Each chapter read by a different actor and talking about their journey into the zombie apocalypse. And the second is any of the Game of Thrones books, because that's all Roy Dotrice, and he does all the voices of all the characters, including the female ones. And you're never at any point confused as to who he's talking about.
So you don't like the Andy Serkis Lord of the Rings ones? Because Andy Serkis re-recorded all the Lord of the Rings books during the pandemic. I
didn't know this. What are Andy Serkis's narrations like on the Lord of the Rings books?
He's one of the greatest voice actors. I think one of the greatest film. I mean, he can do anything. He's completely transformative. Like, the essence for me of being an actor is the ability to transform. And I don't know many people that do it better than he does.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. And even you just explaining that he is doing it, I feel like it's a tour de force.
Yeah, he went crazy doing it during the pandemic. He did all 3 books. He's like, I think I bit off more than I could. And he's doing different voices for every single character. Jim Dale did an amazing version of the Harry Potter books. It's like one of the definitive, best audiobooks ever. If you were going to be like, who's this William DeMeritt guy and do I like his audiobooks? One of the ones I'm most proud of is something called Underground Airlines, which is not to be confused with Underground Railroad, also an amazing book and an amazing historical thing that happened. It's an alternate history, present-day noir story. The South and the North kind of just decided to call it a draw in the Civil War, and there's an escaped slave who is then captured by the Northern government and has to go back to the South to recapture other escaped slaves, but it's told from kind of a crime noir standpoint, and I really dig it. I've also done a lot of historical fiction, which is great, but sometimes really depressing. Like when I narrated a book about the Belgian genocide in the Congo, because guess what? Nothing good happens for 300 pages.
When you say the word genocide, that's generally not a good...
Yeah, generally not. At least not for sane people.
It's like one good thing happened on page 72, and then...
72. 72. One guy got away. Roger. But also, I was able to actually film a movie last year during this strike, which I'm really excited about. I don't love the title. Right now, it's called The Floaters. It's about sort of the outcasts at a sleepaway camp, which I relate to. I play one of the camp administrators, but Aya Cash from The Boys is in it, and Seth Green from Everything. Got to improv with Seth Green.
I love that title. The Floaters?
Yeah. Okay, great.
Because you don't know what group they fall under. You know what I mean? They're the ones that float around. That's what it's about.
That's exactly, James actually got it, Dave. That's exactly why it's called that.
I connect to that title as a person.
It's a great title. It's a great title. Maybe my inner trauma is making me not like the title very much.
Do you know what floats around? Spaceman in Anti-Gravity.
Yes.
And this ties in with the film you've chosen, Spaceman. Can you tell us why you've chosen it, Bill? And we will...
It was on the list that you gave me. Also,
it was on the list.
It was on the list.
It was at the top of the list and you didn't scroll any further.
Also, I've wanted to watch this movie since I saw the trailer for it and read a couple things about it. And I guarantee you, whatever you think this movie is, it is also something else entirely. This is spoilery, obviously, right? Because we're talking about the movie.
I'll get the timer out for the synopsis.
Oh, shit.
In which you have 60 seconds to give it all to us.
Very official.
Now.
So basically, it's an hour and 45-minute long character study about a man who goes to the farthest reaches of our galaxy only to discover that he never needed to leave. And he had everything he wanted his whole life on Earth and just never appreciated it because he was actually fueled by his childhood trauma. His whole life trying to atone for the sins of his father and thinking that somehow if he could accomplish something incredible that he would redeem his life. But he wasn't really consciously aware of that. There's also a giant spider voiced magnificently by Paul Dano, the Riddler from the last Batman movie, which may or may not be a total figment of his imagination. And it's great because it kind of doesn't matter if the spider is real. Adam Sandler he became a good dramatic actor. He does a lot of fake crying. There's a lot of dry crying, but it's hard to do. Carey Mulligan is great. And I realize I like her and I've never actually seen. She's in so many movies I say I'm going to see, like An Education.
Well, that's the end. There's the end of your time.
That's the end of my time. Okay, well, I was talking about Carey Mulligan, so anyway, I said...
Hold on, you've never seen Carey Mulligan in a film, ever?
I wanted to see an Education. I didn't see it. I wanted to see Promising
That
Young
film's
Woman.
wailed now, that one.
I went down her whole IMDb. I was like, I want to see an Education. Didn't see it. I didn't see Drive. I didn't see Promising Young Woman. I still have the SAG screener. I'm going to take it with me to San Diego when I leave on Monday so I can finally watch it. And I'm like, how do I know this woman? I've literally never seen... No, I saw one thing she was in, one of her first things, Pride and Prejudice, like 20 years ago with Keira Knightley or whatever.
Right, she would have been, well, she'll look the same, but you probably wouldn't. She'll probably be like a background feature.
Exactly.
When Helen realised this was an Adam Sandler film, she sent me a text saying, so Spaceman's an Adam Sandler film. This is the kind of reaction we get. Helen's a notable Adam Sandler unstan. I don't know what the opposite of stan is.
Were there enough dick jokes for you in it? Were you expecting more dick jokes?
I don't think I responded to you, did I?
Was it less Jewy, or did you think it was going to be more about Passover? I'm Jewish, by the way, so I can talk about that stuff.
I'm allowed to say that.
I'm allowed to say that.
He's never been the one that I go to. I really love Uncut Gems, so that is one.
Oh.
But
Well, what about Meyerowitz stories? I thought you liked that
I
quite
like that
a
as
lot.
well. Yeah.
So what'd you feel about this one, Helen? I'm dying to know.
So, I realised it was an Adam Sandler film, and to be honest, the prognosis from Netflix was 69%. There's a 69% chance you might like this.
Some people would like that number.
Yep. I mean, it's
Nice.
a good number. And, I kind of got over my fear of Adam Sandler because of Uncut Gems and the Meyerowitz stories. And, Isabella Rossellini, I like her. Carey Mulligan,
Lena Olin.
Paul Dano. I like sad space films. So the signs were good. I'm quite open to fictional spiders. I find them quite interesting.
What are other sad space films?
Yeah,
Well,
I was thinking,
my
is that
mind's
whole
like-
genre?
Moon.
2001, obviously.
Yeah, Moon is very much a sad space film.
What was that great one with Sandra Bullock where she's in space? Is that Gravity?
Gravity.
I loved that movie. That was crazy, though.
Did you see that in the cinema? Gravity.
I did.
Have you seen it since at home?
No.
Oh, does it not hold up? Because I think
No,
it's an
I'm not,
IMAX movie.
Yeah,
It's an
absolutely.
IMAX.
100% IMAX.
It's so strange. We're on a podcast that kind of has Netflix in the title, and here we are talking about the difference between seeing a movie in the theater and seeing it at home.
Well, this is part of the scoring system we've got going, which we'll get to shortly. Sorry, Helen. Sad space movies. I interjected there because my mind was kind of going, what's a sad space movie?
So Moon, Solaris, Ad Astra. So all of those films I've kind of mentioned, it kind of has like strains of that. And I like a Max Richter score. And I enjoyed Chernobyl as well, which is the same director. But I'm not sure this one was for me. And I think the one thing that, I mean, I believed in the spider in space. I kind of was like, yeah, that spider could happen. What I didn't believe was that Carey Mulligan and Adam Sandler would be like a romantic couple. I don't know. I didn't get it.
That was the unbelievable part of it.
Yeah. I was like, I'm prepared to buy everything else. And I had some questions about like time travel in space, that surely the baby would have been born because it takes a long time to get to space. Or maybe I don't understand space. And then I got caught up in it. But yeah.
Helen, I would like to validate your Carey Mulligan, Adam Sandler. When she first popped up, I was like, no. It's not quite as bad as every Woody Allen movie where it's like Cindy Crawford is in love with Woody Allen. And you're like, no.
And she's 20 years younger.
But I actually thought their chemistry was worked in a weird way. And the movie's weird. And the time travel thing, they didn't world build, which most sci-fi, fantasy, most genre films do at some point. Marvel's kind of past it because they're like, we've been doing this for 30 years, so
They don't bother.
F you if you don't get it. Which I'm a nerd, so I'm fine with that Wonder Woman t-shirt, DC, I know. Don't at me. So the thing is I was very much wondering, okay, they have a faster than light speed telephone video thing, and he's by Jupiter, and how long did it take? It's been a year. When was she pregnant? Or it hasn't been a year yet. He's going to be there for a year. I guess the year is there and back, I think.
It's supposed to be. They're halfway through the year. It's been 6 months on the ship, but he has to come back. So that's how fast the ship moved. Like the ship, that's how fast it got
6 months.
past Jupiter. Yeah.
So I don't know what speed that is. I didn't do the math and they didn't explain it.
Because I thought he was maybe going to do like a kind of like
Interstellar thing.
Interstellar thing, and it'd be like, this was without giving any spoilers of that.
I did think he was going to time travel back to the beginning of his relationship and fix it. And I kind of think it's great that he didn't. I actually loved the ending. Like the last line and her in the car, I actually really loved that. I was like, that's perfect.
Should I have kissed you or something like that? Was that the...
It was a great kiss.
Oh, okay.
And then black. I was like, that's it.
James Third, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree that some of the, I would have loved to have known a little bit more about, the state of NASA and all the various space programs around the world and, how are we able to
And also Czech. Our whole thing is based in the Czech Republic. His accent was super inconsistent.
And so, what is the state of and there was the Koreans behind him, right? That's where he ended up at the...
Wait, which Koreans? They said...
I think they just said the Koreans.
At what point they said north or south, but I don't remember which, but at one point they did say.
But so, yeah, I would have loved to have understood the state of the space program, the global space.
But also, what year
race.
We were in and...
But that being said, I was excited about seeing this movie. I remember turning on Netflix and just seeing Adam Sandler talking to a giant spider in space, thinking I have to see this. I did sort of keep expecting it to be... It was a little bit slower than I thought it was going to be. I was sort of expecting some more thrills, some more mind-bending stuff sort of happening. It just felt like it was if the first thing we're seeing is him talking to a giant spider, I cannot wait to see where the rest of his mind goes. But ultimately, I bought into the friendship. I thought that it was this sort of sweet thing happening with either this spider or this corner of his mind that was talking back to him. And yeah, the interstellar of it all, this, in terms of sci-fi movies like this, I feel this was checking a lot of boxes for movies like Sphere and Interstellar, and there was another one, Arrival, where it's sort of the sci-fi entity is revealing something about either life or about our main characters. And it's just the whole movie is look, this is what our characters are. And then now they're going to go into the thing and experience whatever they need to experience and come out of the thing better, right? So that was a little I feel like I've seen this. I mean, I haven't seen him talking to a giant spider, but I feel like I've seen this movie before, and yeah, I mean, I think this movie got a bunch of did it get a bunch of accolades? Y'all sent the list.
Yeah,
or no, it
for the first
just
time
premiered it premiered at festivals. It feels that way too. This feels this movie's gonna this movie did well in festivals. People were excited to sort of dissect it and talk about it, And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm rambling around, but ultimately enjoyed it. But just felt I wanted a little bit more. Wanted a little bit more from it.
I've got to hold my hands up right now and say, as I watch this, I've just spent 2 weeks on the west coast of Canada, come back straight into my kid's 4th birthday, and then watch this. So my head was not in any kind of place or time to watch this film. And I'm 100% certain I fell asleep at many points in this film. So I'm not sure if I fully understood what was going on or...
Blames the jet lag instead of the film.
Well, this is what you guys are saying, it's a slow film. I was like... This is a slow film. Adam Sandler, now he's seeing a spider. He doesn't know if it exists. I really enjoyed that bit when he first encounters the spider and he's like, are you real? And trying to bargain with it, reckon with it. And then he kind of just goes, here's some Nutella. Have that. Do you like it? Good.
Yeah.
Nutella, the 3rd star of the film.
Yeah. Truly. When the Nutella shows up again in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm so happy to see this again. So Nutella's back.
Well, Spider's like, I understand this now. You guys love Nutella. I know I can't paraphrase.
Well, he was talking about eating your feelings. He's like, do you?
That's right. Yeah.
Do you eat for comfort? And he's like, sometimes. And the spider tasted Nutella. And he was like, oh shit. Yep. I'm on board with this.
But I definitely need to watch this again. I'm nowhere near on the Adam Sandler hate camp as Helen is, because I recognize definitely there's Adam Sandler films.
It seems like Helen softened on Adam Sandler.
I don't hate him. I don't know whether his style of comedy has ever been for me.
Oh, but
because
this wasn't comedy. So
it wasn't.
Where you go?
He just looked really tired. I couldn't tell if he was acting tired or whether he was just
he's probably really tired. Also, the makeup on this, they were going in on him.
I will salute him because as an actor, I can also say this, my actor privilege and my Jewish privilege, it's really hard. Oh, I almost made James do a spit take. Damn. It's, for some people, myself included, it's really hard to be on camera and separate yourself from your vanity. And not that Adam Sandler has ever been regarded as a sex symbol. No offense, Adam Sandler. I think you're a great guy. But he really was like, we're just going to make me look like shit for 2 hours. And increasingly like shit for 2 hours. And that's, on some level, I mean, that's what you want to portray the truth of the thing. But from a modern day standpoint, there's a certain bravery in that, which I commend him for, because he put the story first.
I don't think he's ever been that kind of person. He's not like The Rock, who needs to be shot from the best angle with all the sweat dripping down him. He's never been like that. He's always been kind of like, make me look dumb, as long as it's funny, as far as I see it, then that's great. But yeah, there is the Adam Sandler film, and then there's films with Adam Sandler. This is definitely a film with Adam Sandler in it.
Ooh, good distinction.
And I think it's the weakest of the ones. I'm looking at Uncut Gems, looking at Merit Stories, and the one he did with Paul Thomas Anderson, which... Sorry?
Oh.
Punch Drunk Love.
Punch Drunk Love, yeah. So those are kind of... So this is probably the lesser of those ones. And I do enjoy some Adam Sandler films, Happy Gilmore, of course. And I've seen the guy live. I went to Largo in LA and to see Jeff Garlin do his show, because it's the only night I could do. And Adam Sandler turned up, did like 20 minutes. Zach Galifianakis did 20 minutes.
Wow.
Amazing.
The guy from the lead singer from Travis did a few songs. I was like, what the hell is this night?
Richard Pryor came back from the dead, did 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You hit the jackpot with that show, though. That's incredible.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And he's fantastic live. And I've given him more kudos since that, seeing him do 15, 20 minutes than, beforehand. And also I did a rewatch well before Cosby was properly indicted.
Who was that?
But he appeared as like one of Theo Huxtable's friends in like season 3 or 4 of the Cosby Show. He was like a regular recurring character called Smitty. I was like, so he has had this base of acting, and he was good in that as well. So this is good. This is good. He can act, and I think we just need to not have those text messages from Helen saying, it's Adam Sandler.
Alan, can I say, without deviating too much, James, are you going to remember? Because this is a little bit of a thing.
I will.
Okay. In this day and age, it's always really refreshing to hear nice stories about celebrities, because I feel like every week it's, someone is horrible in ways you didn't know.
Hey, Chris Rock.
Oh no, did something happen about Chris Rock?
Not thinking Chris Rock. I'm thinking Puff Daddy. Sorry, I don't know why I mixed two up.
But also,
you did a racism. No,
Chris
but
is in that category now too, though, because Chris Rock is in that category now too, though, because they're the people that side with Will Smith.
Oh, right.
People that are like, he had every right to do, So, but that's a whole other can of worms. What were you going to say?
I was at a dinner recently, and I can't remember the name of this person, but I was at a dinner recently with a young woman who is Jewish, and she was saying that she had moved to New York. When she first moved to New York a few years ago, it was Passover, and she didn't have a Seder to go to. And she ran into Adam Sandler at, I think it was like a Jewish food shop. I think she was buying something for the holidays, macaroons or whatever. And they started talking, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I just moved here. I don't have a place to go. And he invited her, this woman he just met, to his Seder, and she didn't go.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? So just kudos to Adam Sandler for inviting some random nice person to his family's or friends, whatever Seder he was doing. So he must be a really good guy. And also, why would you not go?
I mean, I'd go, even though
you'd hate Adam Sandler.
Well, no, the thing is I think he comes across as a really nice guy. I'm just like, why do you make these films that are just really bad? Because you can clearly act, and when you do the acting, it's really good, and Uncut Gems is so good, and you're just watch it and you're like, can I just get more of that? I'll take more of that. So I don't hate the guy. I'm never going to watch Jack and Jill.
I really hope he listens to this and takes your note.
Even just thinking about what you just said, Helen, of why does he do these specific kinds of movies, which I like most of those movies that you probably think are bad, but I can understand why he does more of them than movies like this. And it's probably just because
they're cheaper.
Well, one, they're cheaper, but then two, at least this is something that I feel like I'm wrestling with as an actor, is that once you get known for a thing, people only want to see you doing that thing. And it's just even if you it's hard to make that transition, you know?
Well, the industry thinks that people only want to see you do that thing.
Well, it's like we don't get much of his stuff here, but Tyler Perry, we only get his stuff that he does with...
Oh, well, how sad for you that you don't get all of Tyler Perry's oeuvre. How, as a black man in England, can you possibly live with yourself? I can't. Here I am. I can't watch all of Tyler Perry's things. It's just, I should just kill myself. I'm sorry.
I don't think I'm missing out, by the way, I should say.
Yeah, I don't think you are either.
He, I think, is a little bit different in that I think that he perhaps leans into he's like, I know this will make me money. Because he's the arbiter of all, he's in control of everything. Anyway, that's my thought. That's my thought on those.
How many conversations go from Adam Sandler to Tyler Perry? Not many.
My question before was, because my blind spot is a lot of his more dramatic roles. Like I watched the first 5 minutes of Uncut Gems and couldn't finish it just because I started it very late at night. But
and then the movie exploded and you could never watch it again.
And then there was no copies of the movie anymore. But why do you think he chose this movie? Something that I was thinking while watching it is like, oh, there's a lot going on here. You know, it is a meaty acting role, but I'm just wondering what do you think jumped out at him about doing this?
Well, when I was at his Seder and I asked him, I think it's interesting that they came to him, but actually I didn't look at the credits. Was he a producer on it?
Doesn't he have a big Netflix deal?
He has a Netflix deal. I don't know, because I'm very interested in reading this book now, actually. It's based on a book, kids.
Okay.
Right.
And I didn't actually check the credits to see if he was a producer. If this wasn't his idea, you know, if he wasn't a producer or co-producer or something on it, it's interesting that they came to him with it. I don't know in what order. I don't know if it was like Brad Pitt, The Rock, you know, Adam Sandler. If he was the top choice, I have no idea.
I don't recognize any of these names. I'm doing a bit of IMDb digging right now. I don't recognize any of the names.
Channing Tatum and his partner.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, Channing Tatum's on the bottom.
And his, yeah.
Channing read the script and was like, Adam, this is for you. It's a weird role in a strange film that really needs, I think, an everyman type of character who's believable, not as a charming asshole, but as like a good guy, maybe, that just can't get his shit together at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's an Adam Sandler type.
Yeah. And also like having trouble connecting to, because he plays a lot of like outsider characters that are like, you know, just can't look you in the eye, really, you know, like that kind of deal.
Yeah. And without the autistic coding that a lot of those characters get, but he's just the outcast for whatever reason, usually like self-imposed. Wow, what a great analysis we just did.
I was super interested in it for real. Like,
you said something earlier, Kobe, that made me think, because I know that you know, sort of one of the theses of this podcast is movies in cinema versus movies at home. And I think there's another category.
Oh, well.
Which is the movies you just put on at home. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That, like, this is not in my opinion, this is not a fold the laundry, make coffee.
No.
Unless you
This is not come back from holiday and watch something to chill out to film.
Yeah, no, I mean, but like you have to focus on it, I feel. Because there's an emotional journey, you know, and if you leave at the wrong time, you're like, what, there's a fucking spider? Now,
eating Nutella.
His wife's where? There's Nutella? So you have to pay attention in the way you would watch a movie in the old days before there were 30 devices in your house that you were all addicted to. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that this film asked me to sit and be present with it without oversharing. You know, my wife and I have been married a couple of years. We got married right before the pandemic. So that was lovely the first 6 months to be, hey, we just got married and now we can't go anywhere. And I'm getting ready on Monday, and whenever this airs, quote unquote, so basically in like 6 days, I'm going to go across the country to San Diego for 4.5 months to do a show. So we're about to have a very long separation. And she's going to come visit, certainly, and her family lives there, so she might have an extended time. But that was one of the main through lines of this film. And that I watched it with Cass, with my wife, and that affected both of us. Like negotiating the long separation and personal sacrifice, professional sacrifice, like what are your priorities? And it kind of, neither of us were really wanting to sit with that last night. I was like, oh, I hate this word. This is triggering. I didn't need this before I go to sleep. So I would say if you have challenges in your relationships or if you're feeling lonely, this is either the perfect movie to watch or the worst one to watch. It really captures loneliness for me. It, I think, deals in a way, if not with mental health issues, at least with perceptions of reality, which is also something close to my heart. I found it very, I don't know how to rate this film. For me, there's like the simple, it's good, it's bad. And if I had to do a binary, it'd be like, it's good. But in terms of out of 5 stars, I couldn't do that because it's.
That's what we're asking you to do in the next section.
I know, but I'm doing a spiel, Kobe. It's a simple, complicated film. And there's a lot of homages to 2001 and maybe Barry Sonnenfeld and his giant spider fixation, which is a story that's amazing if you guys don't know it.
It wasn't Barry Sonnenfeld. It was that producer, wasn't it?
Oh, you're talking about the Wild Wild West and Superman thing?
Yeah. Or was that a different thing?
It was the director because he wanted to direct.
It was Sonnenfeld? No way.
Didn't Sonnenfeld direct Wild Wild West?
Yeah, but he used to be a producer.
Yeah, the producer forced it into Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to put a giant spider in Superman, and then he couldn't do Superman, and then the spider showed up in Wild.
Exactly. That was a producer that wanted to put the giant spider in Superman. And that Superman film was going to be directed by, can't remember the director's name.
Sonnenfeld, isn't it? Okay.
No.
Right.
Bill will never let go. It was Sonnenfeld. I refuse to listen to any Sonnenfeld slander.
The man who did Batman with Michael Keaton.
Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton was going to do Superman with Nick Cage.
That's right. It was Tim Burton's Superman with Nicolas Cage. Yes.
Tim Burton wanted the giant spider?
No, he didn't want the spider. It's the producer that wanted the spider.
And was the producer Barry?
No, I can't remember what his name was, but the producer was... No, he should not have been a producer because he was a hairdresser and I think he was dating Barbara Streisand. And suddenly he was like, hey, I could be a producer because look, I see what you guys do. Anyway, here's a film, put a spider in it, fuck it. And it didn't work in Superman.
So he put it in Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
All right. Fair. Okay, great. So it was the producer. Thank you for clearing that up for me. But I think this is a film that wouldn't work as well on the big screen. I think it's actually a good Netflix film. Because like the special effects for the spider were really good and for the nebula. But then like as soon as we got outside of the ship, I was like, oh, the special effects are a little something. And I think it's kind of an intimate movie. So I'm totally happy to watch it. Not on an iPad, but on a TV.
Well, look, let's get to the scores because you're deliberating. Let's get to the scores.
You've given a preview.
I'm Sam.
Hey there, Ryan Reynolds here. It's a new year, and you know what that means. No, not the diet. Resolutions. A way for us all to try and do a little bit better than we did last year. And my resolution, unlike big wireless, is to not be a raging and raise the price of wireless on you every chance I get. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have included fellow Stripped Media family members Martin and Sam from Song by Song, and Kobe from Flixwatcher, and Dave from The Wire Stripped. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
Welcome to the Flixwatcher scores. They are always out of 5. You can have decimal places if you wish. And we'll start with you, please, Bill, because you picked it with your recommendability. Now, I know you said you couldn't recommend it, but can you give us a number between 0 and 5?
Well, no, I said I could recommend it. I said I would have trouble scoring it.
How easy is it to recommend to people?
Using numbers.
What caveats would you give?
I would say you got to focus. It's a character study. So it is a paced film. You know, it's not Jurassic World. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I don't think that sells how much I enjoyed it. But, you know, if I'm going to give Life is Beautiful 5 stars,
then this can't get 5 stars.
Or Casablanca 5 stars, you know, this can't get 5. So I'm going to give it 3.5.
James.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm inclined to be right around there as well. I just think there are too many caveats. Like, you know, there was too many, like, you have to know, like my wife did not watch this with me because of the giant spider. Like, I just knew she wasn't even going to be able to see the giant spider on screen. And then, oh my God, the way that the spider dies at the end, it was like the most... It was just so
horrible,
disgusting. Why did we linger on it for so long?
So long.
So it has that, and then it also has, you know, the isolation of it all. You know, I still haven't seen Castaway, so like in terms of like my, I don't know how much I love seeing, you know, just one person by themselves. You know, so there's just too many caveats. But I would be around 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 stars.
Helen.
I'm going to give it a solid 3. I think for me there are other films that do a similar thing better that I would recommend above this if you were asking me for one of my like sad sci-fi genres films. But that said, it is kind of like an interesting film, and if sad sci-fi genre is something you're interested in, and it's an hour and 48, so it's not like you're losing 2.5 hours. If you like Adam Sandler and like you aren't afraid of spiders, then, you know, give it a go.
3. I'm going to say, because I did mock with the sad sci-fi, but all the sad sci-fi you mentioned, I was like, they're great, but I've had to, each one of those I've been sat there and been fully into the zone of it. Like Moon kind of blew my mind when I saw it, as an example. So I was going to give it like a 3, but I think I need to give it a bit more because I wasn't in the right place. And that's also going to play into my repeat viewing score. So I'm going to go 3.5 as well with you guys. Repeat viewing score, Bill, first time watching it, how often are you likely to watch it?
I actually think I might watch this film again, actually. So repeat viewing score out of 5?
Yeah, everything's out of 5.
I think, broadly speaking, I think for me it's actually like a 3. I might watch it again. I think for most people it's probably going to be like a 1. I would love to have this film reviewed by someone who is afraid of spiders.
Yeah. There's a lot
Question
of
one,
close-ups
do you
on
like
that.
arachnophobia
Yeah.
as a film? Question 2, sit next to me and
It's
watch
a
this
pretty
film.
big spider as well. You know what? I actually had a dream about spiders after watching this, and I actually woke myself up because there was this spider, and it wasn't big, but like gets into your mind, these spiders.
Yeah.
Crawl in your like brain and then crawl under your skin and try and come out. Oh my God, when the spiders came out his mouth, that was really terrifying.
God, I was
Sorry.
like, what is happening here?
That's like really, really awful. And you want someone who's scared of spiders to watch that?
You can't do
Just
that to
to see what
somebody.
they say.
Especially when you first see it, like you see like part of
Crawling.
a leg come out of his eye, like just half, just like the tiniest bit of a leg in the eye. It was just like, that's the worst. That's the worst thing I've ever seen.
I mean, I think one of our collective worst nightmares is like waking up with a spider or something. In your mouth.
Yeah.
In your
That's-
mouth, coming out.
Or your nose or ear.
Pull it out by one of its legs, but the other legs are hanging on.
So repeat viewing score, James.
Okay, yeah, repeat viewing. I think for me, because I am definitely going to rewatch it, I'd have to give it a higher. I think I might give it a 4 for repeat viewing, because I think it's one of those. When I get to engagement, I'll reveal something, but it's. I think it's one of those that like you might get a little bit more out of the second watch. I don't think a ton is really happening, but one of the things you said earlier, Bill, about like being in relationships and what this illuminates about that. A thing that's jumped out at me while you were just talking is like that part when he says, when we're doing that, the time jump, and we learn that Carey Mulligan lost a baby, and then we learn that he's going on this trip, and he's asking, can't you just be happy for me, or aren't you happy for me? The reason I bring this up right now, because there's something about the way that they present it in time that it feels like that's the next thing he asked her after she lost the baby. Like, it feels like I lost the baby just now, and then you asked me, can't you just be happy for me? You know, the way that it jumps around in time and the way that it sort of puts into perspective Like that, even if that happened 2 years ago, that's what she's thinking about right now while you're saying, can't you just be happy for me?
Well, also, that's what trauma does.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes time weird. And things that are alive for you are not necessarily alive for the people with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Repeat viewing score. Helen.
I think it's unlikely I'm going to watch it again. I feel as though I've had my fill of space spiders, but I'll give it a 2.
I'm going to go for 4.1. I'm duty bound to watch it again because I don't think I gave it a fair crack of the whip. And I think anyway, there's 2 kind of films that you rewatch. One that you have to rewatch to get all the nuances in it. As James was saying, maybe not, I'm not going to watch it every year. I'm not going to watch it every 3 months. But it's one of those things where I need to go back to it and review it after consideration times, after maybe reading up about it. And there's other ones which you could just watch anytime, anywhere, at a drop of a hat. That's not this one. Small screen score. Bill, you were talking around this section.
Like in terms of how appropriate is it to be watched on the small screen?
So if you think it works fantastically on a small screen, it gets a high score?
I give it a 5. I think it works great on a small screen. Not an iPad, like a TV, small screen.
James?
Yeah, I think this is a 4 small screen. I feel like there's some images that would be much better on a big screen, but because we spend so much time in the confines of the ship, I think it works great on a small screen in that way.
Helen?
I'm also going to give it a 5. This would not have enticed me out of the cinema. I think, yeah, like you say, because it's kind of doesn't really go for like the bigness of space. It goes for the claustrophobia of being in a spaceship. It works for the small screen.
I think I quite like to see it in a bigger screen, just to be in the world a bit more and in the zone a bit more and like locked in with the film. But I don't think it needs to be. So I'm going to 4.5. Bill, engagement score out of 5.
I was engaged the whole time. I give it a 5. For myself, I think if you go into this film knowing that you're not going to be doing other things, I think it's at least a general viewing 4. I think most people, once they're watching it, would want to know what's going on.
James?
Yeah, okay, so the thing I was going to reveal is I also was falling asleep while watching this. I had to keep rewinding it.
You also have a young baby.
I watched it late last night, so I had to like keep rewinding it to see like certain scenes many times. So like in terms of, and I also read one of the reviews, and one of the things was like lack of engagement. So I have to preface it that like I wasn't as engaged for the reasons I wasn't as engaged, but I also feel like I am perhaps influenced by reading that review. So I would say, yeah, I mean this is a 3.5 I'd say in terms of engagement.
Helen?
Okay, so I stayed awake, just to say, I made it. I stayed awake. Yeah, I kind of like, I was more engaged at the start with the premise and the spider, but I felt it like, you said earlier on, like you were kind of like, well, if this is like the spider, stuff are really gonna happen, and I was kind of like waiting a little bit for things to kind of evolve, and also, yeah, sorry, I kind of like ended up reading like Letterboxd reviews of it at the same time. So the highest I can give it, I'm afraid, is 3.
Yeah, so don't blame us with your score, Helen. You need to speak to the director of Chernobyl.
I enjoyed that.
Just going back to why he did this. Maybe he saw Chernobyl and thought, that's great. I want to do anything that these guys do because that was generally one of the best series of TV I've ever seen in my life. Engagement, I can't give it a high score because I was falling asleep and need to rewatch it on that basis. So I'm going to go for 2.5. I didn't have the wherewithal. My brain wasn't in function to say, let's rewind it in the way that James was thinking. So
I had to.
Just what we're talking about.
I was like, well, what was that?
While we're talking about watchability, can I ask you all a slightly non sequitur question that I really want professional film opinion on?
Go ahead.
Okay, so do you all have like shows you put on in the background as like, oh, I'm going to wash the dishes, I'm going to put on a show?
Absolutely.
And is it the same, like usually the same show? What show is it, James?
Typically, Psych for me.
Psych?
Psych is one of them, but that's the main one, yeah.
Helen, do you have one?
I'm very much more a music person, so I'll
Great.
have that. And I don't really watch much TV at all anymore.
Great. Kobe, do you put one on?
Yeah, for me, it would be a comedy that I've seen millions of times before and don't even care if I'm watching it at all. So it would have been something like Friends, for example, as an example anyone knows.
Yeah, my wife puts Friends on all the time. And I bring this up because I had dinner with a friend of mine today and his wife. and his wife outed him again. And I didn't mean for this to be like a topic here, but they're a Jewish family, and his background show is Schindler's List.
Oh, what?
Oh.
Well, he's seen it that many times. He knows it beat for beat.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Like, he's got to do chores around the house, and he puts Schindler's List on in the background. And I just think that's...
It's an interesting white noise, isn't it, that?
Yeah. Yeah.
black and white
94.
noise.
I mean, had he seen it when it came out? Like, is it one of those things where it's like...
Yes, he's seen it a lot of times.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know it's heavy, but...
that's a low repeat viewing score film for me. that gives us, we have an overall score of 3.69375, which I think's fair.
6-9 coming back again.
6-9, the magic number.
Oh, hey, nice.
Oh, wow. Great direction, because you're supposed to end where you started. So
beautiful.
Great direction, Helen.
The beginning and the end. What did they say in the movie?
Yeah, and also just like the film.
Let's head over to Twitter, guys. Everyone who's listening, do follow us. We are on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and mainly follow us because we do ask for a shout out or opinions from yourselves on the films we're going to review on the episode. So look out for a tweet saying something similar to, we're reviewing Spaceman with DeMeritt and Rule of 3 Inc. from Black Men Podcast. Have you seen it? Tells your thoughts and a score out of 5 stars. We have one response from Lee Thomas, a stalwart responder. Thank you very much, Lee. You got it, Helen?
So thanks, Lee Thomas. I've seen this called Adam Astra and Inter Sandler. Pretty much sums it up.
I like that.
Contemplative and quiet. This won't be for everyone. As giant spiders go, Hanuš might be my favourite. I mean, we can all relate to dipping straight into a Nutella pot. 3.5 stars, which is kind of reflective of our score.
Yeah.
Lee, good job, Lee. That was witty, and I agree with you, bud.
Inter Sandler. That's great.
I want to come up with some other ones now.
Wait, can I also just say, Hanuš's mouth was too much.
I was speaking. Yeah.
Like, he had to part his pincers, and then it was
and
like
then
a
there was a
human-type
mouth.
Yeah, because when he first starts talking, I didn't notice that. And when you notice it, you can't unsee it.
And then also, when he tastes the Nutella for the first time, and he puts his pincer into the jar, and then his entire thing in his mouth, it felt a little phallic to me. Like, all the way to the back of his throat, and like pulled it out. I was like, this is not...
I think on purpose, right? I mean, maybe not necessarily for it to be phallic, but for it to be just unnerving. Like, it just was strange. It just was like, it just makes you think about not what you're looking at, you know? Like, it sends you in a different...
Yeah, no, I think it's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James and Bill, can you tell us where we can find you guys online? Remind people about your Kickstarter, James, for certain, and we'll say goodbye to the listeners.
Yes, you can follow me at Rule of 3 Inc. on Twitter, on Instagram, Rule of 3 Inc. on TikTok also. I'm not on that as much. And you can, if you are so interested, if you want to read some spooky hijinks, donate to Junior on Kickstarter. You can search Junior or Daddy Issues or Junior Daddy Issues, because I have daddy issues, and don't we all, on Kickstarter. Thanks for the support.
Make sure you send us a link when that goes live, James, if
it's live as we speak, so people can go to it now.
We will be retweeting it and reposting it on the Instagrams for you. Bill.
You can find me at DeMeritt. That's DeMeritt at either Twitter, I'm not calling it the other thing, or Instagram. I have that website, williamdemerit.com, that needs to be updated. And yeah, go to Audible or wherever you get your audiobooks and look me up and listen to some soothing sounds.
Ooh, Bill.
Bonus content there.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure talking about Nutella eating spiders.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes and Rockwood Audio's editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.